Hello everyone, my name is Chris Terrell and this is an analysis of Vietnam's regime and constitution using content from Module 2 and Module 4. So to start off, I wanted to show off where Vietnam is in relation to the rest of the world. So Vietnam is located in Southeast Asia off of the Pacific Ocean. Next, I would like to describe the regime. Vietnam is an authoritarian regime with a one-party system. This party is the Communist Party of Vietnam, also known as the VCP, and the country is communist. If you look at the graphic on the right, you will see that Vietnam has scored a 20 out of 100 on the Freedom in the World Index by Freedom House as of 2020. For political rights, they scored a 3 out of 40. For civil liberties, they scored a 17 out of 60. And this is due to a lack of freedom of expression because all of the media is state-owned, lack of religious freedom, lack of political pluralism due to the one-party system, and lack of societal activism because the civilians in Vietnam can be punished for speaking out. Next, I would like to give some context to authoritarian regimes, specifically the one-party state regimes. So the one-party state usually lasts longer than other regimes due to different groups within the party having a common interest in monopolizing party and power. Therefore, they're less likely to stab each other in the back or start a revolution. Another characteristic is that all parties but one are forbidden. A continuation of contextualizing authoritarian regimes. Here I have listed several different elements of democracy that Vietnam does not follow. So these are all different rights that Vietnam ignores. So citizens do not have the right to express themselves without risk of punishment in Vietnam. Citizens are not able to seek out alternative information due to the state-run media. Citizens do not have the right to form an independent political party because they are all banned. Control over the government decisions are not vested in elected officials. The elected officials must stick with party ideology. And finally, elected officials are not chosen in frequent and fairly conducted elections in which coercion is comparatively uncommon. Only one party can enter, only one party can win. Politicians must follow the party ideology in order to run, therefore they are not fairly conducted elections. Next, I would like to demonstrate the Vietnamese regime in practice. So as of the late 1880s, early 1990s, Vietnam was facing infrastructure weaknesses, energy deficiencies, low productivity, banking inefficiencies, and it was dependent on the aid of socialist countries. While other socialist and communist countries around the world were having a two-pronged revolution, an economic one and a social one, Vietnam only had an economic one called Doi Moi. This economic revolution was focused more on having a more consumer and market-based economy and privatizing the means of production in Vietnam. Other countries around the world were having social revolutions with a focus on pluralism with more parties and being more democratic. But as demonstrated from this quote from the Vietnamese Communist Party General Secretary, he says, apart from the Communist Party of Vietnam, there is no other party of any class and section of the population capable of assuming that leadership role. And therefore, Vietnam stuck with the one-party regime. To take a more recent look, this around mid-2000s up until 2007, Vietnam still had a market-led economy and they were integrating well into the global economy, but this was still with a socialist orientation as the government still had the final say in the economy. There was some internet participation, however, that did not always work out in the favor of the citizens. This demonstrated with the pro-democracy group called Bloc. They spread out information about how many of the people wanted to see more human rights, religious freedoms, and pluralism of political parties within Vietnam, and the people who participated in this faced police harassment, their employers were pressured to fire them, and their electronics were seized. Furthermore, some of them were even arrested and detained for quite some time. And finally, corruption at this time was and still is a major concern in Vietnam. Their one-party system was not always the purest when it came to corruption. In fact, they actually scored 107th out of 158 countries in Transparency International's Corruption Index ranking in 2005. Finally, there's constitution building, which occurred in Module 4 in our class. Here, Samuels talks about 4 different elements of constitutional building, such as negotiated or imposed, inclusive or elite, representative or non-representative, and participatory and not participatory. I have the ones that Vietnam followed in green. So Vietnam's constitution was imposed. It was created by elites. It was not representative of the people, as it only focused on the party, and it was participatory in certain instances. Recent amendments such as 2001, the 10th session of the National Assembly, citizens were able to vote on amendments, but that is one of very few occasions. And if you look at the graphic on the right, I have a snippet of Article 4, which I just wanted to include to reinforce that Vietnam is an authoritarian government. As number 1 says, in their constitution, the Communist Party of Vietnam is the leading force of the state and society, which further reinforces that they are a one-party authoritarian system of government. These are my works cited. If you have any questions or if you want to see the links, feel free to message me. Thank you for watching my presentation.